Have you ever noticed how the loudest people in the room are rarely the strongest? The ones who talk the most, explain the most, and defend themselves the most are often the ones with the least control over their own lives. But then there's another type of person, the one who moves quietly, who doesn't explain, who doesn't argue, who doesn't feel the need to broadcast every detail of their journey. That person carries a different kind of power. They walk in silence, and yet their presence commands attention. They don't need to shout, because their life speaks louder than words ever could. We live in a world that constantly demands noise. Post your life. Share your opinion. Respond to every insult. Prove yourself at every turn. Well, what if I told you that the greatest transformation in your life won't come from how loudly you fight back, but from how silently you choose to rise? What if I told you that the most powerful version of you will not be the one who tries to convince the world, but the one who focuses so intensely on themselves that the world has no choice but to notice? Think about it. Every time you explain yourself, every time you react to negativity, every time you let your emotions spill out, you hand people the keys to control you. You give them your energy, your attention, your power. But when you stay silent, when you keep your focus locked on your own growth, you become untouchable. You shift from being predictable to being mysterious, from being ordinary to being unforgettable. There's a reason why seeds grow underground in darkness before they ever break through the surface. Transformation always starts in silence. Your strength, your discipline, your resilience, these are built when nobody is watching, when nobody knows, when nobody is clapping for you. And then one day, the results show up so powerfully that people are left asking, how did you do it? When did this happen? That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't announce the change, it delivers it. So today, I want you to imagine something. What if, starting now, you stopped explaining and started executing? What if you stopped chasing approval and started chasing growth? What if you stopped giving your energy to everyone and started giving it back to yourself? You'd be shocked at how fast your life transforms. Because the truth is, your silence will disturb people more than your words ever could. Your focus will intimidate more than your explanations. And the moment you learn to use both, you step into a level of power that no one can take from you. Now let's talk about why silence and focus can completely transform your life. Because once you understand this, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Most people are terrified of silence because they think it makes them look weak. They feel the need to fill every gap, to respond to every challenge, to explain every decision, and to argue every point. But the truth is, silence is not weakness. It's the purest form of strength. It's the strength of self-control, the strength of composure, and the strength of knowing you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Think about it. Anyone can shout. Anyone can argue. Anyone can get dragged into pointless battles. That doesn't require power. It requires insecurity. But it takes an entirely different level of discipline to stay calm, to stay collected, and to let your silence do the talking. Silence unsettles people in a way words never could. When someone insults you and you don't respond, they're left wondering if they even mattered to you. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain unbothered, it sends a message louder than any comeback. You cannot be moved. That is power. Silence doesn't mean you're powerless. It means you're powerful enough not to waste your energy where it doesn't belong. And the irony is, the quieter you are in moments of chaos, the louder your presence becomes. People will lean in. They'll study your face. They'll wonder what's going through your mind. That mystery gives you leverage because unpredictability is intimidating. Look at history. The most powerful leaders, warriors, and thinkers understood the art of silence. They never gave away more than they had to. They spoke less, but their words carried weight because they weren't thrown carelessly into the air. In a noisy world, silence is rare, and whatever is rare is valuable. When you practice silence, you separate yourself from the masses who can't stop broadcasting their every thought and emotion. You create an aura of self-mastery, and people respect those who have mastered themselves. Silence is also the guardian of your energy. Every word you speak, every argument you engage in, every explanation you give drains you. Have you ever walked away from an argument and felt completely exhausted, as if you had just poured out your entire soul for nothing? That's because words cost energy. And most of the time, the people you argue with aren't looking for truth, they're looking for control. They want to pull you into their storm. But when you stay silent, you deny them the very thing they crave. Your reaction. You starve their power by refusing to feed it. That's not weakness, that's strategy. Another reason silence is strength is because it forces you to listen and observe. When you're not busy talking, you notice things others miss. The tone in someone's voice, the shift in their body language, the contradictions in their story. Silence sharpens your awareness, and awareness is a weapon. The person who talks less and listens more always knows more than the one who can't stop speaking. And knowledge is power. The one who knows the most has the upper hand. That's why silence is not passive, it's active. It's a tool you use to gather information, to read the room, and to stay 10 steps ahead without anyone realizing it. Silence is also the breeding ground for self-control. Most people lose their power because they can't control their tongue. They reveal too much. Too soon, they confess their weaknesses. They give away their strategies. They speak before they think. But silence disciplines you to hold back, to think deeply, to act intentionally. It gives you time to choose the right response, instead of reacting in the heat of emotion. And when you finally do speak, your words carry authority because they come from a place of strength, not desperation. People remember those who speak with precision, not those who speak the most. But let me be clear. Silence does not mean letting people walk over you. It doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or injustice. It means you choose your battles wisely. It means you don't get baited into every petty conflict. It means you don't throw your pearls before swine, wasting your wisdom on ears that are not willing to hear. Silence is a filter. It separates the trivial from the significant. And when you master it, you stop bleeding energy on things that don't matter. There's also something deeply empowering about knowing you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to justify your choices to people who don't contribute to your life. You don't need to reveal your plans to people who secretly hope you fail. You don't need to broadcast your every move to strangers on the internet. Your silence protects your vision. It keeps your dreams safe until they're strong enough to stand on their own. Think about a construction site before a skyscraper is revealed. There's silence, the work happens behind barriers. In the dust and the grind where nobody can see. Only when it's finished do people finally look up in awe. That's how your growth works too. Build in silence, reveal in power. And here's the final truth. Silence makes you unshakable. When you master the ability to remain silent, you take away the world's ability to control you. They can't manipulate you with gossip because you won't respond. They can't weaken you with insults because you won't react. They can't distract you with noise because you won't engage. You rise above it all, calm, steady, unbothered. That's not weakness. That's the strongest position you can hold. So the next time you're tempted to prove yourself, to explain yourself, or to clap back at someone who disrespected you, remember this. Power is not in what you say, it's in what you don't say. Strength is not in shouting louder, it's in standing taller. And silence is not weakness, it's the loudest statement of self-mastery you will ever make. Most people spend their lives consumed by what others are doing. They measure their worth by comparisons, by scrolling through someone else's highlight reel, by chasing validation that never truly satisfies. They exhaust themselves keeping up with the noise, forgetting the one truth that could completely change their life. Your power lies in focusing on yourself. The moment you redirect all that energy you waste on others back into your own growth, you become unstoppable. Because what you water will grow. And when you finally start watering your own life instead of everyone else's, you begin to see results that shock even you. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. People will try to make you feel guilty for prioritizing your time, your goals, your well-being. But the reality is, you cannot give to others what you haven't first built within yourself. How can you lead if you've neglected your own discipline? How can you love if you've ignored your own healing? How can you inspire if you've never sharpened your own potential? Growth begins with you, and it begins in silence. When you stop trying to prove to the world that you're enough, and you start proving it to yourself, something shifts. You move from chasing to creating, from reacting to building, from competing to mastering. One of the biggest traps people fall into is distraction, disguised as connection. Constantly checking who likes their posts, who's watching their stories, who's talking about them, who's ignoring them. It's all noise. And noise steals time. Hours wasted scrolling could be hours invested in learning a skill, building a business, training your body, or developing your mind. Every time you choose them over you, you delay your own transformation. But when you pull that focus back inward, your life accelerates. Suddenly you start to notice changes, not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. Focusing on yourself also frees you from comparison. You realize that no one else is on your path. Their timeline is not your timeline. Their success does not diminish yours. The reason people feel stuck is because they measure their progress by looking sideways instead of forward. They ask, why is she ahead of me? Why is he doing better? But the truth is, the only person you should be competing with is the version of yourself from yesterday. Every day you invest in your own growth. You widen the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. And that's the only comparison that matters. Here's the secret most won't admit. When you focus on yourself, you become magnetic. People are drawn to those who radiate growth, discipline, and self-assurance. You don't have to chase anyone. Your results will pull them in. The stronger you get mentally, physically, and emotionally, the more you attract opportunities, respect, and even relationships of higher value. Why? Because people respect focus. They notice when you're not distracted, when you're not desperate, when you're not chasing. They notice when you move with purpose. That kind of presence can't be faked. It's built through consistent self-investment. And let's talk about discipline. Growth doesn't come from random bursts of motivation. It comes from daily, often invisible acts of discipline. Waking up earlier than you want, saying no to distractions, pushing yourself when no one is watching, reading when others are scrolling, training when others are sleeping. This is the unglamorous side of focusing on yourself. But it's also the part that transforms you. Because when you discipline yourself, you create freedom. The freedom to live life on your terms. The freedom to choose instead of settle. The freedom to rise while others stay stuck. People will not understand your silence when you start focusing on yourself. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. They'll accuse you of being cold. But that's because they benefited from your lack of focus. They benefited when you were always available, always distracted, always pouring into them instead of into yourself. Your growth threatens those who refuse to grow. And that's why staying focused requires courage. It requires the strength to let people misunderstand you while you build. It requires the patience to work in silence while others demand to see instant results. But the payoff is undeniable. Transformation that speaks for itself. Think about the greatest breakthroughs in your life. They never came from obsessing over what someone else was doing. They came when you finally said, enough. It's time to focus on me. That's when you started studying harder, training stronger, dreaming bigger. That's when you cut off toxic people, stopped explaining yourself, and redirected your energy inward. That's when you grew. And if you could do it once, you can do it again at an even greater level. The truth is, life rewards those who are consistent about themselves. Not those who beg for attention, not those who constantly prove themselves, but those who quietly and relentlessly invest in their own growth. Because results are undeniable. You don't have to announce them. You don't have to post about them. You don't even have to defend them. They show up in your body, your mindset, your success, your peace. And when people finally notice, it's already too late for them to catch up. Because you've been focusing on yourself all along. So if you want unstoppable growth, stop scattering your energy everywhere else. Stop wasting your time worrying about who likes you, who doesn't, who notices, who doesn't. None of that builds you. None of that transforms you. Put that energy back into you, into your health, your discipline, your work, your purpose. Because the moment you decide that your own growth is the priority, you step into a level of transformation that no distraction, no person, no setback can stop. Focus on yourself. Do it in silence. And then watch your life transform into something so powerful, so undeniable, that even the people who doubted you will have no choice but to respect you. Negative energy is everywhere. It comes from people who gossip, who criticize, who constantly need to pull someone else down to feel taller. It shows up in subtle comments, in backhanded compliments, in the way certain people try to get under your skin just to see you react. And the truth is, you can't stop negative energy from existing, but you can decide how much access it has to you. This is where silence becomes your shield. Silence is how you protect yourself from the poison that others try to feed you. Because the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop giving them your attention, they lose their power. When someone throws negativity your way, they are really looking for one thing: your reaction. They want to see you flinch, to see you defend, to see you argue. That response is their fuel. It reassures them that they matter to you, that their words have weight, that they've successfully gotten inside your head. But when you meet that negativity with silence, you deny them the very satisfaction they crave. They're left with nothing but their own noise, echoing back at them. And nothing frustrates a toxic person more than being ignored. Silence is not just the absence of words, it's the presence of power. It says, you don't get to control me. You don't get to dictate my emotions. You don't get access to my peace. It's a boundary without needing to announce it. People may call it cold or distant, but in reality, it's one of the strongest ways to protect yourself from the chaos others carry. Because let's be honest, most of the negativity people project onto you has nothing to do with you. It's about their own insecurities, their own disappointments, their own battles. And when you choose to stay silent, you refuse to take on what doesn't belong to you. Think about how draining it feels when you constantly engage with negative people. They complain and you try to comfort. They criticize and you try to defend. They provoke and you try to reason. By the end of it, you're empty and they're satisfied. Why? Because they succeeded in stealing your energy. They succeeded in making you play on their battlefield. Silence removes you from that battlefield. It keeps you on higher ground, where their noise can't reach. It reminds you that not every comment deserves a response. Not every attack deserves your energy. And not every voice deserves to be heard. There's also a psychological strength that comes with silence. People who thrive on negativity expect a fight. They expect drama. They expect you to defend yourself. When you don't, you disrupt their script. You confuse them. You take away their control. And in that confusion, you reclaim your power. Silence flips the dynamic. They become the ones wondering, stressing, second-guessing, while you move forward, untouched. That's the power of refusing to feed negativity. Silence also protects your spirit. Words are powerful. They can heal, but they can also wound. And sometimes the most dangerous words are not the ones spoken to you, but the ones you repeat to yourself after hearing them. If you're not careful, the negativity of others can become the voice in your own head. You begin to question yourself, doubt yourself, shrink yourself. But when you meet negativity with silence, you cut off that cycle before it starts. You refuse to internalize their words. You send a clear message to yourself: their opinion is not my truth. That inner protection is what keeps your confidence intact. Another reason silence is so effective is because it preserves your focus. Every time you get distracted by negative people, you pull energy away from your goals. You can't be fully focused on building when you're busy defending. You can't be fully locked in on your vision when you're busy proving someone wrong. But silence allows you to keep moving. It keeps you unshaken, unbothered, and undistracted. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing what deserves your attention. And negativity never deserves it. You'll notice that when you stop responding, certain people will fall away. That's because negativity can't survive without reaction. It needs constant feeding. When you stop feeding it, those people either change their approach or they disappear altogether. Either way, you win. Your silence filters out who belongs in your life and who doesn't. It teaches people how to treat you. It shows them that if they come with negativity, they won't get access to you. And that lesson is more powerful than any argument could ever be. The world is loud, and the louder it gets, the more valuable silence becomes. Protecting your peace is not about building walls. It's about mastering restraint. You don't need to clap back at everyone. You don't need to justify yourself every time someone doubts you. You don't need to engage in battles that don't move your life forward. Silence is not retreat. It's strategy. It's knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste on noise. It's choosing to channel that energy into growth, into purpose, into becoming the kind of person whose success is the only response needed. So the next time someone comes at you with negativity, resist the urge to respond. Resist the temptation to explain. Remember that their energy is not your responsibility. Stand tall in your silence. Protect your peace with it, and watch how quickly their power fades when they realize they can't touch you. Because silence is not weakness, it's armor. And when you wear it, you walk through life untouchable. Transformation is often misunderstood because people expect it to be visible from the beginning. They think growth should be announced, that success should be instant, that progress should be obvious. But real transformation never starts in the spotlight. It begins in private, in silence, in the hidden spaces where no one is watching and no one is clapping. Just like seeds grow underground before they ever break through the soil, your growth happens in the unseen before the world gets to witness it. And that's what makes it so powerful. By the time people notice the change, it's already too late for them to stop it. We live in a culture obsessed with visibility. Everyone wants to show their process, share their goals, broadcast every small step. But here's the danger. When you expose your growth too early, you make it vulnerable to doubt, criticism, and distraction. Not everyone wants to see you win. Some will try to discourage you. Some will mock your efforts. Some will plant seeds of fear in your mind because they're threatened by your ambition. This is why private transformation is so important. It protects your vision until it's strong enough to stand on its own. Think about construction. Before a skyscraper touches the sky, there are months, sometimes years, of hidden work happening underground. Foundations are laid deep into the earth where no one can see them. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy. It's dirt, sweat, planning, and precision. But without that hidden work, the building would collapse the moment it faced pressure. The same is true for your life. The foundation of your transformation is built in the private hours no one sees, the late nights studying, the early mornings training, the quiet sacrifices, the moments of discipline when no one is there to applaud you. The reason private growth is so effective is because it builds strength without outside interference. When you're not performing for an audience, your progress is authentic. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're building for yourself. That authenticity matters because when challenges come, you'll need real strength, not borrowed motivation. Growth done in silence is harder, but it's also pure. It's rooted in discipline, not in applause. It's grounded in purpose, not in approval. And that kind of growth creates transformation that lasts. There's also something psychologically powerful about holding your vision close. When you keep your plans private, you create a sense of sacredness around them. They become yours to nurture, yours to protect, yours to build without outside noise. This is how you maintain focus. Because the moment you announce your goals, the pressure changes. Suddenly you're distracted by opinions, questions, and the weight of expectations. But when you move in silence, you move freely. You don't owe anyone updates. You don't have to justify your progress. You're accountable only to yourself, and that accountability is what accelerates your transformation. Transformation in private also teaches patience. Too many people give up on themselves because they don't see instant results. They expect the world to notice overnight. But growth doesn't work like that. A tree doesn't sprout the day after it's planted. Muscles don't form after one workout. Success doesn't arrive after one attempt. Private growth forces you to trust the process without the comfort of validation. It trains you to believe in yourself, even when there's no external reward. And that patience builds resilience. When you can keep going in the dark, you'll be unstoppable in the light. And here's the thing, when your transformation finally does show in public, it's undeniable. People will look at you and wonder when the change happened. They'll be shocked at your progress because they weren't there to witness the grind. They'll call it overnight success, not realizing it took years of silent work. That's the beauty of private transformation. It makes the results look effortless, even though the effort was endless. Private growth also separates you from those who only talk. There are people who will loudly declare their goals, their plans, their ambitions, but that noise is often a cover for inaction. They speak so much about what they're going to do that they rarely do it. But when you choose silence, you let your actions speak. You let your results be the announcement. And in the end, results always silence the doubters louder than words ever could. But make no mistake, private transformation requires sacrifice. It means saying no when others are saying yes. It means training when others are resting. It means staying focused when others are distracted. It's lonely, it's hard, and it's thankless in the beginning, but it's also where champions are made. The world only sees the glory. They never see the grind. And if you're willing to endure the grind in silence, the glory will take care of itself. So if you feel unseen right now, if you're working in silence and no one seems to notice, don't be discouraged. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. Your growth is happening in private for a reason. You're laying the foundation, you're building the roots, you're preparing for the moment when your transformation will no longer be hidden. And when that moment comes, you won't have to explain it. You won't have to prove it. Your life will speak for itself. Stay patient. Stay disciplined. Stay silent. Because transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. And one day when the time is right, the world will see the person you've been quietly building all along. Respect is not demanded, it is earned. And one of the fastest ways to earn respect without ever asking for it is through silence and focus. People watch how you move. They notice how you react, how you carry yourself, how you respond to challenges. The truth is, the ones who can stay calm under pressure, who don't waste their words on meaningless arguments, who don't lose themselves in distractions, those are the ones who command respect without ever raising their voice. Silence and focus together form a presence that cannot be ignored. When you are silent, people wonder what you're thinking. When you are focused, people wonder what you're building. And when you combine the two, you create a level of mystery and authority that makes others pay attention. Human beings are naturally drawn to what they can't figure out. If you reveal everything about yourself, if you constantly explain your every move, you strip away that power. But when you stay silent and let your results speak, people have no choice but to respect you. They may not like you, they may not understand you, but they will respect the fact that you don't waver. Focus is rare in a world addicted to distraction. Most people can't stay consistent with anything because they are constantly pulled by noise, social media, opinions, drama, comparisons. When you demonstrate focus, you stand out. People respect the person who chooses discipline over distraction, who stays locked in when everyone else is drifting. It shows control, and control is power. The one who controls their attention controls their future. The one who controls their reactions controls their environment. This is why silence and focus are so effective. They keep you in charge of yourself, which in turn earns the respect of others. Respect isn't about making everyone like you. It's about carrying yourself in a way that even those who dislike you can't dismiss you. Silence keeps you from looking desperate, and focus keeps you from looking lost. Together, they create a confidence that is undeniable. Have you ever seen someone walk into a room and say very little, yet all eyes are on them? That's the effect of silence paired with focus. They don't have to try hard. Their energy commands attention because people can feel the strength of someone who is in control of themselves. Control is the ultimate form of respect. If people know they can provoke you, that they can easily manipulate you, that you will always react, they lose respect for you. They may enjoy the entertainment of watching you get emotional, but deep down, they don't take you seriously. On the other hand, when people know they can't read you, when they can't get a rise out of you, when they can't shake your focus, they have no choice but to respect you. Even if they never say it out loud, your restraint and composure elevate you in their eyes. Silence also allows you to observe. The less you speak, the more you notice. You pick up on details others miss. You start to see patterns, intentions, and truths hidden behind words. This makes you sharper, more strategic, and more prepared. And people respect those who are aware, who don't get blindsided, who seem to always be one step ahead. Focus enhances this because it keeps your attention where it matters, on growth, on opportunities, on solutions. Respect doesn't come from reacting to everything. It comes from choosing what truly deserves your energy. Let's not forget, silence and focus also protect your reputation. Words spoken in haste can be used against you. Reactions made in anger can damage your credibility. But silence saves you from regret. It gives you time to think before you act, ensuring that when you do speak or move, it's intentional and impactful. Focus ensures you don't waste your time proving yourself to people who don't matter. Instead, you're building something real, something undeniable. Over time, that consistency builds a reputation of strength and reliability. And reputation is respect. People often confuse respect with popularity. They think being loud, being flashy, being constantly visible is the way to earn admiration. But popularity fades. Respect lasts. Popularity can be bought. Respect must be earned. And the ones who quietly build, who stay disciplined, who let their lives do the talking, they may not be the loudest in the beginning, but in the end, they are the ones everyone looks up to. That's the power of silence and focus. There's also control in silence because it makes you unpredictable. People don't know your next move. They don't know your triggers. They don't know what drives you or what distracts you. That unpredictability makes them cautious, careful, even intimidated, and that gives you the upper hand. Focus strengthens this control because it ensures that no matter what others throw at you, you stay locked on your path. They can try to distract you, but it won't work. They can try to break you, but it won't stick. They can try to provoke you, but you won't move. That kind of composure is unshakable. Ultimately, silence and focus earn you respect. Not because of what you withhold, but because of what you create. Silence allows you to protect your energy. Focus allows you to direct it. Together, they ensure that every ounce of your effort goes into building a life so powerful, so undeniable that no one can question it. That's when respect comes. Not when you beg for it, not when you demand it, but when your life itself becomes the proof. So stop explaining yourself to people who don't care. Stop reacting to those who don't matter. Stop scattering your focus on distractions that don't move you forward. Choose silence. Choose focus. Build in private. Move with intention. And then watch as respect and control follow naturally. Because the truth is, when you master silence and focus, you no longer have to chase respect. You become the kind of person who commands it without ever asking. In the end, life rewards the disciplined, not the distracted. You don't need to announce every step you're taking. And you don't need to explain your vision to people who aren't even capable of seeing it. Silence gives you strength, focus gives you direction, and together they transform you into someone unstoppable. When you hold back your words, you protect your energy. When you channel your attention inward, you accelerate your growth. And when you combine the two, you build a life that speaks louder than any argument ever could. Remember this, people may doubt your words, but they cannot deny your results. They may underestimate you in silence, but they will have no choice but to respect you when your focus produces undeniable success. Transformation doesn't happen under the spotlight. It begins in the quiet, consistent work you do when no one is watching. So stop scattering your power, stop explaining your every move, and stop giving your energy to what drains you. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Trust the process. And soon the life you've been building in private will shine so brightly in public that no one will be able to ignore it. Respect, control, success. It all comes when you master the art of moving in silence. You don't need to tell the world who you are. Just become it.